Welcome to Communing with Divine, a podcast where I share my spiritual quest and the lessons and the insights that I've received from many divine beings and energies during meditation. I am your host, Meraki. Now, let's begin. Hello and welcome to Communing with Divine. I'm just going to get right into it. January the 10th, 2024. I've asked Divine in general about life, after what we call death, and about reincarnation because I'm confused about a few things. They've taught me that there is darkness within the light and light within the darkness, that we are all one and there is no separation in truth. But what struck me and confused me was that when people see their loved ones either during a near-death experience or in a dream or with their physical eyes after someone has passed, they often see them as glowing with light or surrounded by light. Like with an NDE, when they go through a tunnel and they come out into a room of light or into a place filled with light, with beings who are glowing and shining with light. No one ever mentions darkness in these perfect scenarios of life after death, unless it's negative. And so I want to learn about that and understand what it is that causes that perception. I'm speaking with the unicorn, and the unicorn says it's because of the prism. I say, I don't understand. The prism separates the light so that we can deal with it in smaller parts, but it only separates out the light into parts. The unicorn says, does it? And that's a good question. It's really a good point, because there are spaces between the particles of light, and therefore there is darkness within the light. So is the prism also separating out parts of the darkness as well, but we only perceive the light? Also, I know there's another type of prism that the unicorn is referring to or could be referring to, and that's our personal prisms that are our filters and that affect everything that we perceive and all that we block out. And so a part of this may be the fact that we only see what we expect to see, what we've been taught to expect and perceive, and anything that differs from that is either blocked out or it's perceived in a negative way. This is a very interesting point. I thank the unicorn for its help in understanding this, and then the watcher steps forward to speak with me. The watcher, the wise one, says, "Have you come to understand your realization about who you are?" I think so. You're a watcher. You've never incarnated, but you have sent out pieces or aspects of yourself to incarnate. And one of those aspects is me. And that piece of me that came from you recognizes that I am a soul energy or an energy that has come from you and that is attached to you. And you are a watcher. So on the one hand, I'm here living this human life with all of its limitations and restrictions. But at the same time, I'm also a watcher. So I am both, but my focused consciousness is here as it is my task. I guess it's a bit like the prism that fractures the light into parts, or how our own personal prisms or filters separate the divine and the all into parts. It's similar, I think. For example, the Archangel Michael represents protection and strength to many of us. He's not actually a separate being, but we separate him out to distinguish him from the whole through the prism effect. And the Archangel Michael interacts with us within the limitations and the confines of how we perceive him. But in actual truth, he is now, always will be, and always has been an inseparable part of the all, of the one. I'm a part of you, the watcher. Therefore, I am a watcher. And once I recognize that part, that connection, I realize that I am from before the curious mind. And that's what makes me a bit of a fish out of water here in this reality. And yet, at the same time, I am also a fish within the water because of my physical manifestation here. I guess either way, I'm a fish. I can exist here, and yet I'm not really a part of the ecosystem, so to speak. It makes so much sense now, and thank you for allowing me to understand that and to connect with my greater self, who is you. The Watcher says, "You are welcome, child. You were ready, and now this connection is open to you, but be wary. Do not jump into that awareness too often. There will be appropriate times that will call for you to access this connection, but this should not be done as a matter of course. For I have sent this part of myself out for a purpose, and that purpose must be realized. You have been afforded the gift of two purposes and of two existences. Honor both." I assure him that I understand, and I thank him for everything. Now I know that this is why I perceive the Watcher as being outside of my little universal bubble, separate. It's because he's from outside this reality completely. He's not a part of it. There's a lot to be learned and to be taught from this, from him, a lot. So I'm actually really excited. Today just opened up a whole new chapter for me, and I can feel it, and it's awesome. The goddess Hecate says to me, "And so you have done well. Much has been revealed to you, and now much more will come, for barriers have been removed, blocks have been dissolved, resistance has been released. Allowing has begun in earnest. Much to learn. This is an auspicious time. I see myself moving through another membrane on my path. I see myself at a crossroads with both the Watcher and the goddess Hecate. They're holding my hands. I'm allowing them to direct me. I'm allowing them to choose the path for me with my blessing. I'm trusting and I'm allowing. I'm giving the choice of my path completely over to them, and I feel nothing but calmness and peace. I am now being made aware of Grandfather Void. He's giving me a feeling of how ancient he is, a taste of it, so that I can begin to understand through experiencing, even though it's in a very limited way. He existed beyond the One and before the creation of the One. Understanding he existed was part of the process of awakening for me, and recognizing that even Grandfather Void is not the end point. There is a void beyond him, and there is more beyond this. It was all very significant in terms of my learning and my progress. January 18th, 2024. The goddess Alethea is speaking. She says, "Truth remains so, whether or not you wish to see it. Truth never falters or wavers. But one must be open to it, willing to see truth even if it is inconvenient, incompatible with what you wish to believe. But there is comfort in truth, for it is unwavering, and it judges not. It exists, and within truth lies all. And so within truth you find yourself. Within truth you come home. For truth is the beacon that calls to the all and from the all. It is a reminder of who you truly are, and its existence is eternal." The god Gnosis says, "You discovered much of what lies within. You looked upon that which you had hidden, for it caused you pain, but you did not shrink from it. Self-knowledge takes courage. Self-knowledge takes honesty. The attainment of self-knowledge employs truth, for without these things the knowledge of self cannot be realized. Fantasies and stories are woven to cover the truth of the self, to wrap it in trappings that do not reflect the self in truth. Fear blocks. It is fear and ego that weave the garments, the trappings. He's showing me an image of clothing. He says, but there is no need for these things, for at the core of the self is perfection, and there is nothing to fear from this. The sages Balthazar and Melchior say, it is wisdom to know truth and to know the self, for they are one and the same. There is nothing more, for this is all. I am now thanking the sacred feminine and the sacred masculine for a realization that they helped me with today. The realization that I perceive the Watcher in light with white robes and a white beard, and I perceive the goddess Hecate in darkness, wearing black clothes with black tattoos. And so for me, through my perception of them, they represent the balance of what exists outside of this reality. Without even realizing it, I perceived them in a way that represented that balance exists both within this reality and outside of it. But until the sacred feminine and sacred masculine explained this to me and showed it to me, this symbolism remained outside of my conscious awareness. February 8th, 2024. The mighty ones are with me. We are going to go and see the goddesses. We're walking up to the cliffs from further away than I normally approach them, and I can really see. I can see much more, much farther than usual. We're definitely higher up, and the sea, or the water, is vast. We're going down to the sand, and there are these rocks in the water that aren't far from the shore. They look like little islands. I've never really thought about them before, but now I'm wondering what they are, and who lives there, if anybody. This is really weird. I go from feeling very, very tall to very, very small in relation to myself. I don't understand it, but I know if and when I'm supposed to understand, the knowledge will come. The sand on the beach is very fine, and I'm really aware of it today. I feel it under my feet and between my toes. Each grain of sand seems to be its own personality of sorts. They're each unique in a very special way that I'm not able to put into words. I'm going to go and change. I can see that I have many more keys on my belt. I ask the archangels to wait for me as they always do. I give them a hug and I go into Hecate's cave through the curtain. The cave is really large today and it's illuminated. Lots of candles. The three goddesses are already there, and I greet them. The goddess Hecate asks, "Why have you come?" I say, "I've come to learn. I've come because I felt called." The goddess Hecate says, "You are most welcome here. What do you wish to know?" I want to know why it's such a battle, such a struggle on the earthly plane to achieve and maintain a state of peace and a state of conscious connection with the divine. And maintaining this takes so much work. The goddess Hecate says, "It is because you believe it to be so. You believe it to be necessary. It is nothing more than that. The connection is there always. The communication is there always. Peace is available to you always. You choose to make it difficult. This is your choice based on the structures of your own belief system that you yourself have created or have allowed to be created for you. You may choose otherwise." Thank you. Well, I guess that's me told. The goddess Hecate says, "Come." We're walking together, all of us. We go through the cave wall. The goddess Hecate says, "Observe." Laid out in front of us are all of these liminal spaces. There are many different shapes, and they all have a different purpose. This is her realm. I thank her for showing me this. It is a great honor. The goddess Hecate says, "It is my pleasure, child." Looking at these, it's a really amazing and beautiful. There are so many different tunnels and shapes. I could just stand here observing forever. It's vast. I can see that they're all quite different, but they're all interconnected, and I think that's what she wanted to show me. We're going to go back now because I haven't done this for a while, and I'm tired. After returning from Hecate's cave, I find myself suddenly in the company of the Watcher. We started to work together, and then the goddess Hecate joined us, which was a nice surprise for me. We were walking along a path. At first, I couldn't see anything until this massive golden structure came into my view. It is of two halves, gold with darkness and gold with light. We walk until we arrive at the base of this temple or structure. I strip off and I walk up the steps. As I'm walking up the steps, I pass two lions. They aren't real, they're statues, but they're beautifully made. One of gold and darkness and one of gold and light. As I continue up the steps, I come to two statues of angels. Again, one of gold and darkness and one of gold and light. When I reached the top, there are beings holding the doors open. And as I stood just outside the doors, I perceived light shining out of the temple. And yet, when I step into it and the doors close, it becomes complete darkness with no suggestion as to where the light came from or where it's gone. Then suddenly, from the complete darkness, light beams forth again. This light is extremely bright. And this very interesting play of going back and forth between the darkness and the light continues for a bit until I notice more stairs. These stairs lead up to a throne-like chair. And as I notice this throne-like chair, I realize that there are beings up on the level of the throne. Actually, there are beings everywhere, and every one of these beings are gold. I walk up the stairs and stand on the level where the throne is. Then some of these beings come to me and pour gold into me, and as they do this, I become completely gold. These beings seem to be putting a lot of emphasis and importance on the gold that they have poured into my brain, and of my brain being gold, but I don't know why. Once I'm totally gold, I find myself in the void. And as I enter the void, I dissipate entirely. I can see little bits of me coming off and floating apart and away from me. And as this happens, I get further and further away from all of these bits of myself that have separated out. And then I hear a voice asking me, "Where are you?" But I can't answer because I'm still trying to grasp what is happening. It's so bizarre. It's wonderful, but it is bizarre. Because I am still here. I still have a consciousness, and yet the separation between each little golden speck of myself is so extreme that I can't see or even perceive that I exist, and yet I do exist. This is such a wonderful and strange experience. I don't know how to explain it, but I'll try. It's like if you looked at something under a microscope that appears solid from a distant perspective, and then you zoom into that solid thing, and you start to see smaller particles with space in between them. And if you zoom in more, those particles are made up of even smaller particles with spaces in between them as well. And the smaller the particles become, the more the space there appears to be between those particles, and the less the particles appear to be a part of one cohesive whole. And if you zoom out far enough, all you can see is the space that is in between, and not the particles at all. It was kind of like that. On the one hand, I felt as if I was dissipating, but in actual fact, it was just my consciousness pulling away from what seemed to be the physical solid me. And this continued until all I was aware of, all that I could perceive, was the space in between. I couldn't actually see or sense the little golden molecules that made me into the physical whole that I perceive to be my body. It was really mind-blowing to experience this in this specific way. The practical experience versus the theoretical. And then I had a conversation with the void, or it may have been with myself. At that point, I'm not sure I could have told the difference. And the message that I received was that your consciousness always exists, because we are more than we perceive ourselves to be. We are the all. After this conversation, I found myself back in the temple on the level of the throne. And the beings continued to put a lot of emphasis on my brain and on the golden energy they had poured into it. They kept saying this is very, very important, and that the vibration of the gold energy was really important. After this, there was then a lot of conversation about perception and about reality, things of that kind. But I was so tired at this point that I was just listening and not speaking, so I didn't record what they said. And unfortunately, I can't remember most of it. But I do remember them saying something about illness and fear, and creating guided meditations to help people release all of the fear that they hold, starting with the body and then moving on to the fear that we hold within our cells, and then all of the fear that we hold within our DNA, and then within our energy fields, so that we're literally clearing all of the fear out that we hold. So I guess that's something I'll have to work on in the near future. Or someone listening to this can do that if you feel inspired to. I think that's all I remember for now. February the 14th, 2024. I've been sitting in my little microverse. It's very peaceful. I might just stay here for a little bit. There are so many beautiful points of light and so much beautiful darkness. And I can see outside of my microverse, and I can see the goddess Hecate and the Watcher. But I also sense many, many more beings. I love it here. I'm now walking with the goddess Hecate and with the Watcher. The mighty ones are with me as well. They're behind me. We're walking through a place of empty space, I think. That's what it feels like anyway. It's dark, but I can see light in the distance. It looks like a circle of light that we're walking towards. I can't see much besides this circle of light. And now that we're close to it, it's more of a golden light. We all step into this circle of golden light, and when we do, it becomes more of a place, a space really. It's a misty golden light. It feels nice to be in it, in this space, walking through this space of golden light. As we walk, things are changing. There are changes to the appearances of my guardians as well. Everything is shifting and moving. This place changes too. It becomes a slate gray color, charcoal, but never fully dark. I feel that this is some sort of test for myself. Now things are more red, reminiscent of fire, but there are no flames. Green, orange, blue. Now colors are changing so fast that I can't name them. We walk until we find ourselves at a crossroads. The goddess Hecate is to my left, and the Watcher is to my right. The Archangel Michael is behind me to my left. The Archangel Uriel is behind me to my right. The Archangel Gabriel is forward of me on my left, and the Archangel Raphael is forward of me on my right. I have many decisions to make. I know what I want to do. I just don't know that I have the internal strength, discipline, and energy to do it anymore. The goddess Hecate says, "You will find what you need. That which you require will come once your choice is made. All that you require is already within you. This you know." I trust and I know, and so I pick the path of my spiritual journey. The goddess Hecate says, "And so it shall be." We're walking again. I chose a path. We're walking this path together, and as we do, there's quite a lot of sunlight. I recognize this place. I've walked similar paths with the Wise One before. He's smiling. I can see the temple, or whatever it is, that huge building in the distance that this path eventually leads to. I stop, and I consider the path as I was taught to do by the Watcher. I scan my path to be sure that nothing is on it, that it's clear. I see some sand, so I'm going to remove it from my path before I continue walking it. It's strange, but somehow I know that I can shapeshift on this path. I can shapeshift into a bird of prey. We continue walking until we reach the temple, and I climb the steps to the top. Everything is golden. I sit in a chair that's like a big throne, and I look out. I can see where I have come from, and I can see the other choices I could have made. Once I've seen all of this, I turn into a bird of prey, and I fly back down to where everyone is waiting for me by my path. As I land on my path, I turn back into myself. I wouldn't think this meditation is of much significance, but I believe it is because of the symbolism. The gold temple, the throne, closer to the divine, higher up, turning into a bird, especially a bird of prey. I was an eagle or something similar. These birds are messengers of the gods. Everyone seems pleased, so I must have gotten some of this right. I find myself back in my little bubble, my microverse, and it's time for me to sleep. After I had rested, I decided I would look up these symbols in hopes of gaining a better understanding of the importance of the experience that I had just had. And I'd like to share these with you. Gold. Gold can symbolize divine connection, purity, perfection, immortality, enlightenment, and inner worth. It can represent spiritual triumph, divine glory, and higher states of being. A golden temple symbolizes divine light, purity, enlightenment, and spiritual transformation. It's famously seen in the Sikhism's Golden Temple. It can represent equality and selfless service, as well as happiness and wisdom. Temples serve as powerful reminders of spiritual truths, and they can signify humility. Stairs and staircases are powerful spiritual symbols, representing connection between realms, the spiritual journey, growth, and also transition. The upwards ascent represents enlightenment and approaching the divine, while descending can represent delving into the unconscious. In either direction, stairs reflect the intentional steps that are required for spiritual elevation and understanding. The throne. Of all the things that I read regarding the symbolism of a throne, the ones that spoke to me most were a higher power's grace, which I feel I have had in abundance and I'm very appreciative of. And also inner self-mastery, spiritual alignment, and sitting in the seat of truth or of true consciousness and eternal life. The bird of prey, as a general group, they symbolize freedom, strength, and divine connection. They also represent the ability to see the bigger picture, the bigger perspective, and to gain clarity. They also symbolize intuition and protection, and they are considered to act as messengers or guardians between worlds, the human and the divine. They also signify spiritual awareness and spiritual guidance for pursuing purpose. As for the eagles, eagles represent honesty and truthful principles, power, freedom, vision, spiritual awakening, and connection to the divine. They symbolize strength, courage, and high perspective because they are able to rise above and observe. They act as a messenger between earthly and heavenly realms. They also symbolize a powerful spiritual journey, which is, I think, the one that probably applied to me the most. These are just short, condensed explanations of these symbols, but I thought I would start out and share a little bit of this with you, especially since you're following me on my spiritual journey, and you may have some insight when you know what the symbols are supposed to mean. Right, so that's it for me for today. I want to thank you all so much. I hope you'll join me for the next episode. And until then, have a great day.